This war is not just happening in Ukraine. It is happening in your grocery store, at the gas station, in your electricity bill, in the price of bread, in the future of global power. When Russian tanks crossed into Ukraine in February 2022, many people saw it as a regional conflict, tragic, distant, and contained. But wars like this are never contained. Because Ukraine is not just a country at war, Russia is not just an aggressor. And this conflict is not just about territory. It is about food, energy, power, money, and rules that govern the modern world. This is the story of why the Ukraine-Russia war affects everyone, even if you live thousands of miles away. To understand the global impact, we must begin with the history. Ukraine and Russia share centuries of intertwined parts, empires, wars, border drawn and redrawn. For much of the 20th century, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. When the USSR collapsed in 1991, the Ukraine became independent overnight. But independence did not erase geography. Ukraine sat between two worlds. To the east, Russia, still powerful, still influencer, and to the west, Europe, wealthy, democratic, expanding. For Russia, Ukraine was not just a neighbor, it was a strategic path, the cultural kingship, and a buffer against NATO. For Ukraine, independence meant choice, and the choice where Ukraine belongs became the seed of conflict. After the Cold War, NATO expanded east. To many Eastern European countries, NATO meant safety. To Russia, it meant encirclement. Russia watched as former Soviet states joined a military alliance originally formed to counter it. When Ukraine began leaning towards NATO and the European Union, Moscow saw the red line being crossed. This war is not just about Ukraine. It is about how power works in 21st century. Can large countries control smaller neighbors? Can borders be changed by force? Do international rules still matter? The answer affects every country, not just those near Russia. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the world reacted instantly. Markets panicked, governments responded. Energy prices surged overnight. Why? Because Russia is not just a country at war. Russia is one of the world's largest energy exporters, a major supplier of oil, gas, and coal, a key player in global commodity market. Ukraine is one of the world's largest grain exporters, a crucial supplier of wheat, corn, and sunflower oil. When bombs fell on Ukrainian fields and sanctions hit Russian exports, the global system felt it immediately. Ukraine and Russia together supplied food to hundreds of millions of people, especially in Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. When exports stopped, wheat prices soared, bread became unaffordable, governments faced unrest. For the families already living on the edge, this war was not politics, it was hunger. Food insecurity leads to protests, migration, and instability. A war in Eastern Europe created pressure in places thousands of miles away. This is how global systems work and how they break. Europe depended heavily on Russian gas. When the supply was cut or weaponized, the energy prices exploded. Industry slowed, governments crumbled. But the shock didn't stop in Europe. Oil and gas prices are global. Higher energy cost means more expensive transport, higher manufacturing cost, rising inflation everywhere. Even the countries with no direct ties to Russia paid the price. This war made energy security to global priority and exposed deep vulnerabilities. Inflation didn't rise by accident. War disrupts supply chains, trade routes, investor confidence. Sanctions reshaped global finance. Companies exited markets. Currencies fluctuated. For ordinary people, this meant higher prices, slower growth, and job uncertainty. This war reached into homes without a single missile crossing the borders. The Ukraine Russia war is also dividing the world politically. Some countries support Ukraine and sanctions, others stay neutral or quietly align with Russia. This is not just East or West, it is about multipolar power, the decline of a single global authority, a world where rules are contested. What happens in Ukraine may shape how future conflicts unfold, from Taiwan to the Middle East. Behind geopolitics are people, millions displaced, cities destroyed, generations marked by trauma. This war reminds the world that modern conflict is not abstract. It reshapes lives far beyond the battlefield. The Ukraine Russia war is not just about the Ukraine. It's about the food on your table, the energy in your home, the stability in your economy, and the future of international order. Wars today do not stay local. They ripple outward, touching every life. Understanding this war is not about choosing sides. It is about understanding the world we live in. Because what happens in Ukraine does not stay in Ukraine. Thank you.